Welcome back to both of you. And we're kicking off, Zoe, with the front page of the Express. As we can see here, they continue the article at depth inside as well. And it's not the only paper to lead on the suggestion that Number 10 might be looking again at the winter fuel allowance.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of briefing post-local elections that Number 10 might consider means testing, increasing the means testing for the winter fuel allowance. And obviously this is on the back of, this was one of the first policies that Labour announced, which was reducing the uptake of the winter fuel allowance amongst pensioners. And it, as we know, received a lot of backlash from various different quarters, actually from both the right and the left, really, about taking money away from vulnerable pensioners, but also whether that is a good political strategy to target pensioners in this way as your first act in government. And there's now a suggestion that it really did hurt them at locals, and actually it's the thing coming up most on the doorstep amongst Labour voters who are switching away from Labour now. So there's a suggestion that they might actually consider increasing the threshold to bring in more of those vulnerable pensioners who might have been previously not able to receive winter fuel because they didn't hit the threshold. The suggestion that they'd scrap means testing altogether and go back to it as a universal benefit for pensioners is a suggestion, but I think it would be a huge cost to the government and would undermine their fiscal credibility, because they suggested that this was something they had to do because of the economic picture, and therefore to go back on it would obviously be quite difficult to justify. So there is a suggestion that they'll do this. The question is the damage already done when it comes to the optics of Labour targeting vulnerable pensioners as soon as they came into office? Many people would suggest that it is, and actually, as much as there will be pensioners for receiving this money again, in terms of the political fallout, it's already happened.
Do you agree with that?
I mean, we were talking about it earlier and we were saying, you know, on balance, I think that focus groups have shown that he will be supported in reversing this decision. And I think people will be grateful. The pensioners will be grateful. Hopefully it means that the 100,000 old age pensioners that were going to be plunged into poverty will no longer. And I think that they will recognise this U-turn as a step forward. But whether it undoes all the damage and his lack of popularity among Labour voters remains to be seen, I suppose.
And that's if it happens, because Number 10 are denying that this is going to happen. But we'll wait and see. And it's no doubt one of the issues that will come up on Trevor Phillips' show. I'm just going to remind people that if you're big fans of Trevor Phillips' Sunday morning show, it's going to be on an hour earlier tomorrow at 7:30. Tune into that.
The fact that it keeps being briefed out at least suggests that there is a portion of people around Keir Starmer who maybe want a reversal on it.
That's right, and it's not just, whether the pressure is being put on by other people. It's in more than one of the papers, certainly. Let's move on to the Mail, India, because really interesting article here about the new Pope.
Yeah, this is a great story. So Pope Leo XIV has offered the Vatican for peace talks for the war in Ukraine. So he has made the gesture to help solve the, quote, very difficult, dramatic situation. And he said he was hopeful that this could provide an opening for peace. So, I mean, some could see this maybe as quite a political move, but I think it's, as he said, it's just wanting peace and trying to promote peace. And of course, we saw the success of Donald Trump and Zelensky's talk at the Vatican during the former Pope's funeral. So perhaps it's sort of on the back of that. And then, of course, it comes after the fact that no progress was made in Turkey in the first direct talks that they've had. And obviously, Putin was a no-show, and that was the big story. And therefore, Zelensky also didn't go to... he was near Istanbul, but didn't go to the talks in the end. So it comes off the back of that being a big disappointment. So this is quite heartening. Maybe it can be done. Maybe, as you said, it will have God's blessing.
God's shining down on them,
really interesting move, though, by the new Pope. And it does sort of open the question, doesn't it, of to what extent he will get involved or open the door to others getting involved in these kind of discussions.
Absolutely, and there was, you know, a lot of question about whether whoever the new Pope would be, whether he would be more conservative or more progressive, and whether we'd see that kind of continuation of the previous Pope's progressivism in many ways. And actually it feels like Pope Leo is going to be a Pope who clearly wants to push forward peace, who clearly wants to see a world to an end to a lot of the suffering and a lot of the war that's going on across the world. And I think as one of his kind of first major gestures, it maybe gives you a sense of the kind of tone he wants to set. You know, he wants the Vatican to bridge some of those very difficult gaps, and, you know, without particular bias either way to either side. So I think it is heartening. It's a positive step, and I think many people will be happy that that is the way that the papacy is.
Absolutely, and I will just add, he was invited by Zelensky to go to Ukraine. For now, he's ruled it too premature, so that won't be taking place anytime soon, but that was also quite an interesting point.
And it's his inauguration tomorrow in the Vatican, which will bring together world leaders once again. Obviously, we don't have a full list of who will be attending, but it'd be really interesting to see if we get any other diplomacy on the sidelines at that event in Rome. Let's move back to domestic issues. Zoe, an article in The Guardian here about a park in London which has hosted a lot of festivals, but there has been a little bit of complaint from locals.
Yeah, so this is actually quite near where I live, so this is of interest to me. I've been aware of this kind of ongoing dispute. So Brockwell Park, which is in South London, quite near Brixton and Herne Hill, has been subject to a lot of complaints from local residents and campaigners because it hosts a number of music festivals. And the campaigners basically argue that it's causing a lot of noise, a lot of disruption. It's damaging the grass. It's, you know, it's almost a kind of, some may say it is a NIMBY argument. You know, they are worried about what's happening in their backyard, and that you know, that they want to see the halting of festivals there because it's getting overused. But of course, there's also concerns from people in the arts and culture space that actually it's becoming increasingly difficult to find places to have these festivals. They're very important to our cultural fabric here in the UK. There's been a lot of difficulties for musicians, performers, people who work in the arts in actually being able to create work in the UK post-Brexit. So placing more barriers there as to where you can have these music festivals could really damage this industry even further. So it's a real kind of, it's a classic sort of NIMBY versus YIMBY, where both camps have pretty, you know, convincing arguments on both sides. And it's like, where do we find the space to have these events? Because clearly these festivals are incredibly important, not only to musicians, but also enjoy going to them. I've been to a few of these festivals and they're very good fun.
Yeah, and you don't have to book somewhere to come and stay. Some people who bought tickets with the festival facing cancellation might lose out as well. It is a tricky one, isn't it? Because you have sympathy for local residents who might complain about the noise or the damage to their park, you know, the environmental damage around them, and then at the same time, you know, the festivals are great to go to.
It's so difficult. I'm just thinking of the scenes after Glastonbury and Reading, you know, when you see all the tents and the things left behind and the rubbish. And
I was so shocked. I went to Glastonbury last year for the first time, and I think we were the last to leave. And I thought there were loads of people still there because there were so many tents still up, and the people managing the site were just saying the people just leave them behind.
The people who do the clean-up are amazing, unsung heroes, really, because there is a huge amount of rubbish that people leave behind. It's very bad.
Yeah. Let's move on to Eurovision.
Eurovision is,
are you a
yes,
fan?
The grand finals tonight. You know, I went last year to cover it, and I had never been a fan before that, but I really did understand when I saw it in person the strength of feeling towards this song contest. I mean, it is... People are very passionate about it in the way they dress up.
So this is an article. Oh, it's by you. It's in the Telegraph. I genuinely hadn't realised that.
It's in the Telegraph. So yes. So yesterday, in quite a sort of a dramatic way, the Doctor Who star Ncuti Gatwa, he pulled out of sort of presenting Britain's awarded points, and I say only dramatic because it was quite last minute, obviously, and it came sort of. Speculation online was that it came directly after Israel qualifying for the final, sort of 2 minutes after. Now,
there's been no sense of that.
No, there's been no sense of that, nor from his people, nor from the BBC, nor from Eurovision. But of course, online sort of, you know, sleuths are going to put two and two together, and they think he might be making a stance. But taking his place is Sophie Ellis-Bextor, which would be great. So she'll read out the awarded points for Britain on the BBC. And yeah, hopefully we will do well, but you know.
But who knows?
Let's not get our hopes up too much, but you never know. We've only got 10 seconds. We can't talk about crisp summer, which is lucky because I can't say it seems. But anyway, posh crisps heading your way. Evo, thanks very much indeed for this morning. Do stay with us. We've got all the top stories coming up.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered.